guys, and welcome to a new video here on Phloshop. My name is Joseph. Today I'm going to be showing you the major differences between three popular modifiers for beauty photography: the cone, the beauty dish, and the parabolic umbrella. Because the cone is the smallest of the modifiers, I had to turn on the modeling lamp of the strobe and wave my hand in front of it to be sure of exactly where the light was hitting. I had my camera set up on a tripod because I needed to work a bit more precisely given the size of the light source and the distance to the subject. We didn't have a lot of room to play with, so for most cases, her poses needed to be controlled within certain regions. She couldn't raise her chin above or below certain levels, as that would affect how the shadows are created on her face. I didn't want to send the light far away from her because even though we would have a much larger coverage and she could do anything she wanted, we would lose that punch and distinction between the highlights, midtones, and shadows, so I ended up keeping it about 4 or 5 feet away from the model. I feel this gave the right ratios of highlights, midtones, and shadows. I was also manually focusing, and this was quite stressful for me, particularly because it meant I had to set the angle I wanted on the tripod quickly, zoom into her eyes, and take a shot. I don't like to use autofocus now, only because my camera sometimes acts funny when I am shooting wide open. I knew it wouldn't be the case here because I was shooting around f11, but I also was shooting quite close to her and I knew that was going to affect the depth of field, so manual focus in this case was the way to go. For this shoot, we just wanted to play a bit with jewelry, nothing too fancy, so we gave her earrings, rings, and a neck piece that we eventually wrapped around her fingers. At this time, I had explained to her that the lighting demanded that we kept the angles within a certain proportion, but I also did help her by directing her to pose in certain ways just to tie everything in, even though she was doing her own thing. In this particular scenario, I decided to play a bit with shadows on her face and add more drama to the images. We started off by having her raise her palm to the light source, and this in turn created some shadows on her face. I asked her to position her hands in such a way that it allows more light to hit her eyes and have less shadows fall on her eyes. I kept stressing her out by letting her freeze the poses in order for me to focus on her eyes and shoot. Trust me, it's not a nice thing to do, so don't do it if your camera focuses well, but mine didn't, so I did it anyways. One thing I noticed was the poses with her palms towards the light wasn't something I really liked, as it looked way too bright, especially when I compared it to the rest of her face. That's because the palm is naturally lighter in tone than the face, and because it was closest to the light source, it got even brighter, and that became a bit distracting for me. I made her turn the back of her hand so the difference wasn't so noticeable. I also took some shots without her hands in the frame. I went closer, took some tight shots and dramatic shots, making her face or parts of it fill the entire frame. Shooting with a cone gives you so much detail because it's a bare and direct or harsh light that is being used to illuminate your subject. I wouldn't recommend using the cone to light just anyone, knowing how dramatic it is and how it exaggerates skin texture. You have to be a bit careful when using this light modifier. Anyways, I stepped back and captured slightly wider shots that incorporated her hands again, and you can see we've kept her facing a particular direction this whole time. I also made sure to keep the modeling lamp on so I could see the catchlight in her eyes as another means of guiding me in terms of positioning the light exactly where it needed to be. Too high would cause unwanted and unflattering shadows, and too low would make the images look flat as well. So I'm going to leave some of the images here for you guys to look at and tell me what you think about using the cone for your photography. If you use it in a different way, do let me know in the comments down below. Alright, so taking off the cone, the next modifier is the beauty dish. It is larger than the cone, so obviously would create a softer light source, meaning it wouldn't be as specular as the cone. We didn't change her look at this point, just so I could get a better comparison of the two light modifiers as they have some similarities. Because this is a larger light source, she could move a lot more as compared to the cone, even though we had to manage the range again. If she went too far, we could get some unflattering shadows because she wouldn't be within the sweet spot of the beauty dish. The light from the beauty dish isn't as direct as the cone because the light hits a dish that's in the center of the bowl and is reflected back into the silver area of the beauty dish, bounced around a bit before reaching the subject, and that's why it's softer than the cone. The interior of my beauty dish has a silver lining, and so it has some specularity to it, which I really like. I find the beauty dish to be a nice blend between the cone and the parabolic umbrella that I'll be looking at later on in this video. I don't like to stay at one spot when I'm shooting, so I did take some wider shots, brought the camera closer and took some detail shots as well. The model was quite experienced, and so she also kept moving and switching her poses and angles, and it really helped. I only directed her when I needed to, but overall it was fun. I will be comparing 3 images after the shoot, so click the like button if you haven't, and if you've not subscribed, please click the subscribe button and join this community as I post once every week. So I'll be leaving some of the images here for you guys to look at and tell me what you think about the beauty dish for beauty photography. This modifier is the last one, and I didn't want to bore you guys with the same look, so we switched it up a little bit. We chose a bold lip color that really stood out, removed the neck piece but kept the rings on just to make the entire set a bit cohesive. One reason why I love the umbrella is because it's so easy to mount and it's an indirect light source. I say it's indirect because I had to turn the strobe to face the inner part of the umbrella, and this creates a very nice soft look that's flattering to almost anyone. It's deep, it's big, and has a white interior, so the light is going to be a lot softer and more diffused compared to the previous modifiers we looked at. I didn't add the diffuser to the umbrella because I wanted a bit of a strong highlight. I had a bigger parabolic that I used to use for my beauty work, but due to the size, I found it sometimes a bit cumbersome to manage. That one has a silver lining. I'll actually link it up here for you guys to see me use it because I have a previous video of me using that for a beauty shoot. I am beginning to love the smaller umbrella because it's a lot more easy to carry around. For this set, I decided to take the camera off the tripod, and that's because I knew with the light source I was using, she could move around freely and still have flattering light on her every time. I noticed she wanted to move a lot and I didn't want to break that flow, so that meant I had to go handheld. I also adjusted my aperture to about f14 because I knew this modifier wouldn't give me as much details as the other modifiers did, so I had to compensate with the aperture. This also meant I had to increase my flash power to match. The reason why I was shooting at f11 with the previous modifiers was because of how they render a lot of texture. If I had to shoot at f14 or more, I would have had a lot more detail to deal with. But for this, I had to get a lot of detail out of the shot, so I shot at f14 and that worked pretty nicely. I'm going to leave the rest of the images at the end here for you guys to look at again, and do let me know what you think about the two. I'm going to switch to my computer screen right now, and then we're just going to look at the 3 images I have selected for us to look at and discuss how the modifiers affected those 3 images in more detail. Okay, so moving on to my screen right here, I've opened all 3 images, or I've selected 3 out of all the shots that we did. The one on the left, which is the image taken with the cone, the one in the middle, the beauty dish, and the one on the right was taken using the parabolic umbrella. So starting off with the one on the left, you can tell that the light is a lot harsher and the shadows are even more defined, and when I zoom into the eye, for example, you can see that it's a very small light source and we have a reflector below. So the setup didn't really change for any of these images. It's the same thing I used for all 3, same distance, same everything. And looking at the shadow right here, right under the nose, you can tell how defined and dark it is. And the same thing right under her lips, just like that, and the one that falls just under her chin. And so, like I was saying, you have a very prominent highlight with a lot of texture on the skin. I don't know if it's going to translate well because you're looking at it on YouTube, but over here I can see a lot of texture. You can see moving even closer to the texture, you can see the highlights, the midtones, and the shadows. It has a very, very defined texture to it. So again, looking at it, you can even see inside the eye we have this very defined shadow caused by the eyelash, which is even falling onto the eyes. And so, like I was saying, if this light had gone even higher, I would have had a very longer shadow which was gonna fall into the eye and is not flattering at all. Looking at the image of the beauty dish, for example, when I also zoom into the eye, you can see the reason why I was saying is indirect is because this black spot in here is what is preventing the direct light from hitting the model. And so when the light showing through, it's going to hit this dish right here, bounce back into the dish and come out bigger and softer. And so it's going to create an overall softer image, but it's still going to have a lot of specularity to it. But looking at the nose, for example, which is going to capture the most light, you can see we still have some tone to it, so it's not as bright or as white as the cone, for example, which is nearly white, meaning that I probably did or I probably do have some blown out highlights on there, but it's nothing I can recover in post. All right, so looking at the beauty dish, as I was saying, again, is very specular, but zooming into the nose, we have a little bit of a defined shadow, but because it's bigger, it's not as long as the cone, and it's also soft, and so you can't really tell where the edges of the shadows are. Same with under the lips, is a very large and soft shadow right there, but we still have that specularity that comes with the beauty dish. All right, so moving on to the large parabolic umbrella, which is the largest of all the three modifiers, and also the softest because it has a white interior. Looking inside, you know, it's also a bit indirect, and so it goes in and bounces back to light up the subject. But we do have some specularity, as I was saying, because I don't have or because I didn't have the diffuser in front of it. But looking at the under the nose, for example, you can't really tell where the shadow starts from or where it ends, especially where it ends, because it's very, very soft. It blends into the rest of the skin. Same thing with under the lips, but we still get that depth because of the differentiation between the highlights, the midtones, and the shadows. So it's just a mix or a blend of the cone and the beauty dish, I think, and it just gives a very nice soft light. Also, zooming into the skin, we have a lot of detail, but it's not as defined as that of the cone. Let me just zoom in right here for you to see, and then zoom into that of the beauty dish as well. Just about so you see the cone has the most texture, followed by the beauty dish, and then the cone. I even think that beauty dish has like the softest so far, because comparing it to what we have here on the cone, on the parabolic umbrella, it looks like there's a lot of texture here. So yeah, that's just about it. So this is my comparison with my three favorite modifiers for beauty photography. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, it's free, turn on post notifications so you're notified of my videos. I'm going to try to post once every week. I know I have been consistent, but I got swamped with a lot of work. I haven't been able to post for the past 3 weeks, but I'm going to follow up this video with a retouching, maybe dodging and burning, and frequency separation. I don't know, let me know which one you want me to do. Do you want me to focus on frequency separation only, or do dodge and burn only, even though my process is like a blend of the two? So let me know down in the comments what you want to see, and I will see you in the next video. Bye everyone.